Hello, Cat.
Cat, we've got work today. It's on the agenda. You have to get your schoolwork done because you're a senior and you have to pass this year. All right? Why are you here? Is it because you want the COD retrospective? The one that I promised that I would continue off of Toby's series a while back? It's gonna happen. Just wait. I'm trying to write the script, but I've got something called school and an actual life. God, I'm sounding like Toby himself. And anyway, fine. You want a video? You want a scripted video? Then fine. Salutations, dearest of... I can't say that word anymore because it's my English assignment. Salutations, dearest of friends and or buckos. My name is Adam, aka the Gatorade Man, aka the funny little bottle guy, and welcome to another video. Today, instead of talking about a COD retrospective, I'm going to be talking about the Canterbury Tales, or in this case, Tales singular. For context, the Canterbury Tales are a series of like 24 short stories that were written in Middle English by Geoffrey Chaucer between 1387 and 1400. Luckily, and I mean luckily, I'm not going through the whole book. We're only doing one tale, and it's for one English assignment, and then I get to go hide in my cave again. For 1/24 of these tales is called The Monk's Tale, which is the one I've chosen. And so today, I'm going to be doing a summary, critical analysis, and compare and contrast of the actual real-life monks in the story for an unnamed English project from an unnamed English teacher in an imaginary school, and you're going to watch. So I would like to change locations now. Now that I'm at my new location, I would like to bring upon, normal monks in, history and whatnot. I gotta have my mouse for this. Monks in history are these guys. They are, generally seen as men who are members of religious orders, and they live their lives in monasteries. They live their lives in prayer and contemplation and like philosophy, but more religious philosophy and not, humanistic philosophy. The concept is ancient and can be seen in many religions and philosophies. They're also expected to have control over their desires, like exercise mental controls and have mental discipline and, make vows and whatnot. Another common practice in monasticism is prayer and contemplation of holy scriptures. Monks also often practice charity. They're, peaceful people. They don't really fight. Amongst daily activities mainly consist of philosophy and prayer among other monks. In fact, monks are told to only live with other monks, and a public schedule of a monk will actually be in the description below if you would like to check that out. So since we're in the summary portion, I'm gonna have to, of course, read from a book. And I understand that today's modern sentiment is that children lack the general brain function to sit down and read a book. Even though my channel isn't for children, I feel like everybody's attention spans have gone down as of recently, especially mine, as somebody with, ADHD, as many people do nowadays. So, in order to keep your attention here, instead of going off and watching a Hugbee's video, I love Hugbee's, by the way, he's got a good channel, I'm pulling out the big guns. Now, if you see, on page 379 of the Canterbury Tales is where, we start our adventure for today into the monk's life. The story starts with the monk himself telling stories. First story he tells is about the archangel Lucifer and how that, even while being one of the most powerful angels, he still fell to the lowest point, hell, became Satan. Next he tells about Adam, the guy from the Bible. Not me. This is, not to get it confused, not me, the guy from the Bible. He tells the first human, Adam, and he shows how he was born out of the divine power of God and placed in paradise. However, his misdeeds in said paradise, taking from the tree of knowledge, made God banish him to the hard-working environment that is our current earth. Next, the monk tells, okay, listen, not even Subway Surfers is enough to get past my heartache and absolute boredom out of reading books like this. I hate English projects because they require me to actually read stuff I don't like. But how many stories are in here? As you can see, I have my little bookmarks, but I never really counted. One, the Lucifer. So you got Samson, guy who tricked to hit pillars, killed himself and others. Hercules, noble hero, killed evil beast, betrayed and poisoned by his lover. Nebuchadnezzar, I think that's how you say that. Nebuchadnezzar, the big king on Babylon. Belshazzar, son of big king, took over when dad died, didn't fear good, got stuff stolen by wife and divorce, freaky. After Belshazzar, we got Zenobia, queen, had lots of cool stuff, captured by king and taken prisoner. We got, that's a long story, Jesus. King Pedro of Spain, big kingdom, killed by assassin, fair, he's the king. Peter, king of Cyprus. Barnaboo of Lombardy, Yugo of Peninsula, Nero, Holfheim, Xantu, Chosus, Alexander, Julius, Caesar, Croesus. Listen, I've already read that whole thing. It's a bunch of the same story. It's a bunch of different stories, generally telling the same moral. Don't get too up on your high horse, because if you do, you will be punished by some force, whether it be divine power of the gods or your people that you haven't fed in over 20 years because you're rich. So is there any actual story other than the monk telling his own stories? Wait, is there actually any story regarding the monk and anything? This has prologues? Oh shoot! Let's do a little reading from Adam. I'm going to summarize this heavily. In the context of this, in the prologue, there's this guy who is called the host, and he's hosting a party for many of the other pilgrims to, attend. That's the context. When I wound up my tale of Melibri and prudence and whatnot, so basically, in the beginning, the host is speaking. He's like, oh, if I had, not listened to my wife, I would have wound up dead, essentially. With such things as, by God's bones, when I beat my serving lad, she bounds out, bringing me the big club staves, and yells, murder every man, jack of the swine. And if one of my neighbors fails to nod to her in church, or has the hardihood to slight on her in some way, when she comes back, she's on a rampage, screaming in my face, you miserable rat, avenge your wife. By corpse's bones, I'd rather have your knife, and you can take from my distaff and go spin. From dawn to dusk, that's how she carries on. Alas, she says, that it should be my fate to wed a wilksop, yes, a gutless ape. So basically, he's talking about how his wife is mentally insane, essentially, which aren't all wives. I wouldn't know, I haven't had one. He goes, my lord monk, cheer up, for it's your turn, our host went on. Indeed, you've got to tell us all the story. Look where we are. Rochester stands hard by. Ride forward, my good sir, don't spoil our game, but on my honor, I don't know your name. Whether they call you the milord Brother John, or Brother Thomas, or Brother Albin, which monastery's yours in heaven's name? I swear to God, you've a delicate skin. There's a plenty of good grazing where you've come from. You're no repenter, sinner, no thin shade. Some kind of supervisor on my faith. A Christian, perhaps, or cylinder. I don't know how to say those words. I'm illiterate. For by my father's soul, I'd say you were someone in authority when at home. And he basically just goes on glazing this monk and going, please tell us the story. All this the good monk bore with patience and answered, I will do my best to tell you so as seems consistent with decency. A tale or two or three I'll narrate. If your taste lies within that quarter, the life of Edward, Saint of Confessor, or the kind of tale that classed as tragedy, of which I've hundreds in my monastery. Tragedy means a certain kind of story, and as ancient books remind us of some man who was once living in prosperity, who fell from high estimate to misery, and who came to a calamitous end. Now pay attention if you want to hear, but first, before proceeding any further, if I don't tell these stories in due order, whether of popes or emperors or kings, according to the chronologic sequence as written in the books, and if you find that I put some before and some behind, just as they chance to come into my mind, I beg you to excuse my ignorance. And that was the prologue. Going on first thoughts at the moment, that's actually pretty good. But I'm going to read the second one before, actually doing my little compare and contrast thing. The Nun's Priest Prologue. Halt, said the knight. No more of this, good sir. What you have said is true enough, I'm sure. More than true, but still, a little sadness goes and I'm not going to read this whole thing. Essentially, in this prologue to the Nun's Priest Tale, the knight goes, "Stop it, please! No more sad stories." And after saying this, he goes on to do other members of this party, they go on to agree with this knight. And while the knight does this, he goes, they start saying stuff like, "Mr. Monk, no more of this. The Lord bless you. Your tales are boring us to death." That's real funny. However, the monk says, where does the monk start speaking? "For I have it in me, and I can tell to pay attention to a well-told tale. Tell something about hunting, if you please," asks some guy. "No, I'm in no mood for frivolities. It's time for someone else to have his story, as I have," said the monk. Our host addressed the nun's priest. In his rough and ready way, "You, priest, come over here. You, Brother John, give us a tale to make our hearts feel gay." In this context, when this was written, gay means happy. "Cheer up, forget that nag you're riding on. Scruffy your horse may be, all skin and bone, but if he does his job, who cares a bean? See that you always keep a merry heart." "Yes, indeed," he replied. "I swear you're right." "Yes, Mr. Host, yes. I'll be much to blame if I'm not merry." "Right then," he began his tale. And then it starts the priest, which is not my assignment, so we are not going into that. Pretty much reading these prologues, they actually fit quite well into actual monk life. I mean, they're more, exaggerated than my current will to live, but they're still generally accurate to the story of a monk that would actually, tell. The actions the monk takes in the prologues are just to himself, as he apologizes for something minor, like the order of the stories he tells not being in order. However, he does not back down on his stories when criticized by the host and others. He says, "I do not need to tell stories of being happy and whatnot. I want to tell mine stories of grandeur with morality, as monks normally are. That's just what they do." Solid. As a review of this book, the story, it was, to be honest, it's a little boring. I thought it would have been a lot different than that, but it wasn't bad. I think it was boring, might have because I was forced to read this, but also the fact that it was a bunch of analog stories told by a monk. And each analog story was actually pretty interesting, seeing that they were all from third-person perspective views of a monk. But anyway, I'm going to give this a solid 3 Roman Catholic churches out of 17 Christian monks. My name has been Adam, aka the Gatorade Man. I can't do my normal outro because this is an English project. And I hope to see you all later. Bye-bye. Okay, recording's done.